LaMelo Ball to the Minnesota Timberwolves is nowhere close to what we think it is. But to understand why, we gotta jump straight into the video. The LaMelo Ball trade is even crazier than we think. Let's jump straight into it, baby.
LaMelo Ball has been traded to the Timberwolves for Naz Reid and picks in what would be the most shocking trade of the last decade if the Luka Doncic trade didn't exist.
True,
when the Wolves traded away
true,
Julius Randle, they called it addition by subtraction, as they were able to get off of Randle's $30+ million a year contract.
Great for them.
But obviously, they had bigger plans in major reason. It was said that NBA vultures are swirling around Ant in anticipation of him potentially becoming the next superstar who's available in the trade market.
If the Minnesota Timberwolves don't win a chip within the next, I don't know, 3-4 years, I feel like we could easily see Anthony Edwards go somewhere else. I mean, it makes sense.
His former number 2 All-Star win a championship on the Knicks, and Ant made it clear he wants to win now. He is sick of the double teams that were thrown at him with no number 2 guy. Randle was just not cutting it. He shot just 1 for 8 in an elimination game against the Spurs. While he was also a complete ball stopper. But now the Wolves have an all-star talent headed into his prime in LaMelo
Ball. That reminds me. Let me grab something really quick. All right, there we go. Much better, much better.
Still have a massive question. We know that Melo can be that second scorer that Ant needs.
100%.
We also know
he could be the first scorer.
Is a complete liability on defense. Crafted NBA has LaMelo in the 97th percentile.
That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to think.
His creation percentage is among the best in the NBA, ranking in the 99th percentile. He's proven he is an elite playmaking guard who will make any offense better. Good luck double teaming Ant. But Melo was also one of the worst defenders in the entire NBA.
That's just what they want you to think. He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose.
So immediately you might be thinking, with LaMelo and Ant, the Wolves are certainly going to light up the scoreboard.
Yeah,
but are they going to need to win games 125 to 120? Can this team possibly play any defense? Ant also had a minus defensive plus-minus on Crafted NBA.
Here's the thing that they aren't taking into account. Yes, they might have like minus on defense, but they have a whole roster who can play defense for them. 2 players not playing defense is going to be canceled out by everyone playing defense. It's going to be okay.
Although he was also in the 98th percentile in offensive plus-minus. The explosive offensive firepower is here. But will this just be a flashy team that brings in viewers but doesn't actually get Ant the title he wants? It's here where we need to stop and remember something huge. Just how the Timberwolves built up their 2024 and 2025 Western Conference Finals teams. The Wolves now have another defensive guard in Io, who we're going to dive into later. But they also have a tremendous wing defender and unselfish scorer in Jaden McDaniels, and one of the best rim protectors in the league in Rudy Gobert. Rudy is a 4-time defensive player of the year. He was still first-team all-defense last season, and he just played incredible defense on Nikola Jokic that made people have to respect him. The fact that the Wolves didn't have to move Rudy Gobert in this trade is possibly the most important part of this deal, because it has been proven Rudy Gobert's defense on the Wolves is what makes them work. In 2024 and 2025, in their playoff runs, Minnesota started Mike Conley at the point guard position. In his prime, Conley was an all-star level player. In those playoff runs, he was a defensive liability. He really was just on the court to facilitate the offense and provide high-level IQ and passing. Conley lost his foot speed. He couldn't really guard anyone, and he averaged just 11.6 points per game in the playoffs in 2024, then only 6 in 2025. LaMelo is a big-time upgrade at the point guard spot, a position the Wolves have already seen success sacrificing defense with. That leads us to another huge question, though. From our perspective, we have to wonder, why the heck would the Hornets trade LaMelo Ball? It's very possible that Charlotte just does not trust LaMelo.
That's exactly
Let's
what I was
remember
gonna say.
that while LaMelo did just play 72 games this season, he also played in just 105 games between 2023 and 2025.
That's true. That's
missing
very valid. That's
141. His contract will see him make over $40 million a year starting next season. So the Hornets might think they are selling on him while they can, and they're just going to bet on Brandon Miller and Con Knippel to be their real core for the future.
B. Miller and Con Knippel could definitely do it.
Is a real risk, but it's one the Timberwolves are gladly taking. LaMelo has proven he is a team player who does want to win basketball games. In the 2025 season, he averaged over 25 points per game, but in 2026, his points fell to just 20.1 points per game.
Which is fine,
that might look like a regression on paper, but LaMelo played 4 less minutes a game and took 4 less shots a game. He was willing to sacrifice to let guys like Khan, a rookie, get their shots.
Exactly.
Which means now teamed with Anthony Edwards, there isn't going to be an ego battle here.
No.
LaMelo has proven he is a willing passer to talented teammates. And even better, LaMelo still has that all-star upside. He could push to be an all-NBA player. Making an all-NBA team is also not out of the question.
No,
We've
not at
never
all.
seen LaMelo play on a team that is actually competing, and yes, that will bring some questions itself. But I come back
think
to
it's gonna
that
bring
crafted
good. I think it's
NBA
gonna
stat
be
of LaMelo's
good wins
percentage.
coming, bro.
For the first
good
time in
wins.
his career, Anthony Edwards will actually have a point guard who needs to draw the attention of defenses.
True.
A point guard that can create plays for Ant in a way that Ant has never seen
And LaMelo
before.
can do
Plus,
that.
the two of
LaMelo
them are
can
now locked in for
100%
the
do
future
that.
as long-term teammates who can grow and learn from each other's
Definitely.
games as they both enter their apex primes.
Yep.
They were taken in the same draft class at
25 years old is very young, and both these boys are 25 years old. They have an easy 5-6 years if no one gets traded or moved or anything to improve and make a finals and win.
Honestly, I'll say it's amazing that the Wolves were able to pull this off.
100%
Getting an
they
all-star
are.
level guard who
It is
hasn't hit
amazing.
his prime yet for next to nothing is absolutely worth the risk.
exactly.
Melo doesn't bring the
Exactly.
off-court drama that a guy like Ja Morant does.
True.
That would be a real risk for me.
True.
The Hornets were one of the biggest surprise teams in the NBA this season.
Yeah, they
as
went
were
crazy,
expected to be
bro.
near
They
the
went
bottom of the
crazy.
league, but instead made the play-in game with LaMelo running
Yeah, they
the
went
show.
crazy,
And the Wolves
bro.
will have flexibility to make moves in the future.
100%
Guys like
they
Dante
will.
DiVincenzo and
Yep.
Io will be
Yep.
movable contracts. They
Uh-huh.
really won't have picks to work with, but if they're smart
They
with
don't
their
need
cap,
picks, though.
if
They
this
don't need
team
picks,
does not
though.
work out for the 2027 season, they can still make moves to compete going forward.
Yeah,
which
easily.
means adding in LaMelo could be the massive swing that the Timberwolves need
It will be.
to
It will
get
be.
to
It
that
will be. It will be. It
championship
will be.
level. Because again, Anthony Edwards needs help. Put yourself
Yeah,
in
he
his
does need
shoes.
help.
You just watched your front office trade Cat to stay under the second apron because they couldn't afford him, Ant, Gobert, and Jaden McDaniels.
True.
Only the Wolves then chose to extend Julius Randle after the trade for over
Which is
$30
so
million
stupid.
and
So
traded away
stupid.
Nikhil Alexander-Walker for cash. Walker is
Which,
making just
dude.
around $15 million a year, a very affordable contract.
Super
and this season he
affordable.
exploded
And
with the
he went
Hawks,
crazy
winning
this
most
year.
improved
He
player
literally
after
went crazy
averaging
this
nearly
year.
21 points per game. The Wolves already
Pause really quick just so I can make sure we're watching the video. Yep, we are. Okay, good.
had a player who could help Ant on their roster, but they chose wrong. They
Yeah.
let Alexander Walker go so they could keep paying Randall. Now
Which is
though,
so
with
annoying.
LaMelo
That's
Ball,
stupid.
they have
That
a
is
chance to
stupid.
completely rectify that mistake. Because also
Yeah, they
here,
do. They
there's
can.
no question that Anthony Edwards has been a prime time playoff performer. Because here's where
like
we need to
prime
talk
time.
about Anthony Edwards as a player specifically. There is no question that Ant has been a prime time playoff performer.
No,
In the
not at
West,
all.
as it
Not at
is,
all.
making two Western Conference Finals
Yeah.
in recent seasons is already extremely impressive.
That's
but
insane.
There is
That is
still that
insane.
question lingering about whether or not Anthony Edwards can bring a team all the way to the NBA Finals
can.
without a true second star.
Yeah,
in the first
actually,
round of the 2024
maybe not.
playoffs,
Maybe
Ant
not.
was that type of A-tier superstar.
Yeah,
he
he
averaged
was.
around
He
29
super
points per
was.
game, 6
He went
rebounds,
crazy
and 6
2024, I'm not
assists,
gonna lie.
and looked like he was taking the leap. People were saying he was Michael Jordan's son, that he was going to be the
He
face
is,
of the
bro.
NBA.
He's going to
But
be.
then,
He's going to
all
be.
that was soon forgotten because against the Dallas Mavericks, Ant did play
Yeah.
well. He was the best player on the Wolves.
He just couldn't
but
do it,
Luka
bro.
just dominated.
Yeah.
Looking at the stats between the two, Luka had more rebounds and assists per game than Ant,
True.
and also outscored him by
Luka
a
just went crazy,
tremendous
bro.
amount. And Luka even had more steals.
Luka
On
just went
paper,
crazy,
you could
bro.
make the argument the Wolves had the better team headed into
100%
this
they
series,
did.
But Luka was just the best player on the court.
Yeah,
this isn't any
100%.
hate on Anthony Edwards,
No,
though.
not at
We're
all.
just being realistic with the team he actually
Facts.
needs to win a title. Because
Facts.
Ant is not only one of the best players in the league, his last 2 seasons have put him in historic company. Only 9 players in NBA history have averaged 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists per game between the ages of 23 and 24. Only 7 have done it in the post-merger era. Those names are Michael Jordan, Tracy McGrady, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, and Anthony Edwards.
Yes, sir.
And because he's
Yes,
about to
sir.
turn just 25 years old with a ton of playoff experience
A ton of it,
Ant's
bro.
actual
A ton of
apex
it.
prime might unlock the ability to carry a team all the way to the NBA
He will.
Finals. We might see
He
him
will.
reach a legitimate next level. Watching him in the playoffs this season, it is so apparent he has that dog in him.
Oh, he
has
does,
that
100%.
willingness to win and put his
he
body
does.
on the line.
Yeah,
and he has
100%.
just all of the confidence in the world to
100%, bro.
take
Yes,
any
bro,
shot,
yes.
to will his team to win if he can. But let's also remember, a lot of people did not like the fact that when the Spurs were blowing out the Timberwolves in an elimination,
this is valid,
Ant
though.
walked over to the Spurs bench and just started congratulating everyone
That's
because
valid,
he knew
though.
his team had no chance. So even if Anthony
what he
Edwards
did was
becomes the
super
best
valid.
player in the world and can do it alone, from his own actions, it's obvious he wants someone to help him.
Yeah,
And a player
valid.
like LaMelo Ball would do exactly that. I will say
Valid.
that while I also think LaMelo is a tremendous talent and all-star level player, I don't think he is the type of vocal leader you need on a
he's
team
not.
to
Well,
really build
somewhat,
a championship culture unless you're a
somewhat.
Steph Curry and Draymond type situation where
Yeah.
Steph doesn't have to be vocal because he has Draymond. LaMelo is actually best suited to be the second best guy on a team.
Which
And
is
he
valid.
is best
That's
suited
super
to
valid.
play with a vocal leader like Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
And if we're being as realistic as possible, the Western Conference just has monster teams at the top that the Wolves need to beat. The Thunder and the Spurs have not only proven to be absolutely
Thunder and Spurs went
dominant,
off
but they
this
are
season,
also
bro.
dominant
Them
with
motherfuckers
young
went
cores.
off this
Wemby just
season.
brought the Spurs to the NBA Finals in just his third season,
Which is
with
crazy.
Stephon
That shit's
Castle
crazy,
and
bro.
Dylan Harper being arguably the second and third best players in that playoff.
They
run.
were, by
Nobody
the
is
way.
saying the
They
second
were.
best guy on that team is now De'Aaron Fox.
No.
That means that San Antonio is only going to get tremendously better as time goes on because these guys are going to get better with age. The Wolves need to build the right team around Anthony Edwards right now, or they are never going to take the leap to NBA champions.
I agree.
In the
I
2025
100%
Western
agree.
Conference Finals, we saw the same thing play out as in 2024. It was incredible in the first two rounds.
Yep.
He was incredible all season, but then facing the double teams OKC threw at him, now with Julius Randle as his secondary
Yeah.
scorer, it was outdueled by Shea,
He just
who
couldn't,
had a
bro.
much better
He
roster
just
and
couldn't
much
do it.
more help.
He literally
Yes,
just could not
LaMelo
do it.
would be questions on defense, but the double teams on Ant would disappear with another big time perimeter scorer. Those
Yeah,
double teams
true.
are still coming if Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid are the secondary scorers. I'm sorry. I love both of those players, but teams will be able to game plan around Ant unless the Timberwolves add another high
definitely.
level scorer.
Most
And I will
definitely.
say, while the Wolves have made some mistakes, especially missing out on Nickeil Alexander-Walker for just $15 million.
Yeah,
a year,
that
I think
sucks.
Minnesota did
That
just
ass
steal a
sucks.
great role-playing guard in Aya. Most of the cap space the Wolves freed up in the Julius Randle trade was immediately given to Aya, who they signed to a 5-year, $112 million contract, and $112 million looks huge on paper, yes, but that is in the mid $20 million a year range, which
isn't
is
bad.
a good
That's not
contract
that
for a
bad.
guy like Aya.
Not
Aya
that
emerged
bad.
as a playoff hero after Anthony Edwards went down with an injury in Game 4
Very
of the first
true.
round against the
Very
Nuggets. In that
true.
game, Io exploded for 43 points off the
Crazy,
bench on
bro.
13 of
He's
17
insane, dude.
shooting,
Genuine,
as he
he's
was
dead
just
ass insane.
unguardable.
He's
The
actually
Wolves
insane.
believe this was not a fluke, that Io is entering his prime at the age of
He is.
26 and
He
is
is.
worth over $20 million a year. He
Easily,
is a
bro.
solid defender. He is a
Easily.
willing passer. He is a guy who plays to win. He fits Minnesota's culture perfectly. And we also have to remember that while technically Minnesota took a step back this season in not reaching the Western Conference Finals,
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards
true.
was playing through a very real injury. He was hobbling on one leg,
No,
and the
literally.
Wolves still took the Spurs to 6 games.
Literally.
Minnesota really
That's just
is on the
crazy.
fringe of championship contention. Jaden
This
McDaniels
is
are
it. This is
entering
the year.
prime seasons and only gotten better as the years have gone on. But I have to say, Minnesota does need to make the right moves.
They
because
do.
yes, right now Anthony Edwards is happy with the Timberwolves. That has been because they
100%.
keep getting close to a title. But
Yeah,
sources have
true.
said the fear for the Minnesota Timberwolves front office is that at some point, does Ant, through his representation, Bill Duffy and others, signal a desire to be elsewhere? We are nowhere near that point, but the fear is there.
Yeah,
the
that's
Wolves
valid.
want Anthony Edwards to stay in Minnesota for his entire career.
100%.
They're not a destination city. They need to build a contender around smart front office
They do.
moves. And trading
They
for
do.
LaMelo Ball might be remembered as the trade that brought the Minnesota
Yeah.
Timberwolves not only their first conference championship ever,
But their first
also
championship.
their first NBA title. So there we have it. Thank you
Bang,
for watching.
bro.
If you're new
Chat,
to the channel, I really think you're going to
absolutely
like
banger video. If y'all went on to enjoy, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I'm gonna catch y'all all in the next one.